Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss poem A Legend of the Northland. Now this poem is written by Phoebe Cary. She was an American poetess and the younger sister of poetess Alice Cary. The sisters co-published poems and Cary was a champion of women's rights. She was master in compiling ballads and folk tales. And this is one of her famous folk tale which is narrated in the form of a poem, in the form of ballad. Now what is a ballad? This poem as it is written in form of ballad, so let us know what is a ballad. A ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and passed on orally from one generation to the next. So this is also written in the form of a ballad. Now legend of Northland. What does legend mean? Legend means a historical story which is very old and it is also being carried away from one generation to generation. Sometimes they use maybe orally or maybe they write it down somewhere. But there is not proper formation of any legend. This legend has why this folk tale has been chosen, selected by Phoebe Cary. There was a reason. She actually wanted to convey a strong message through this poem. It is a poem which will give you a message that greed is not good for us. Because you will see in this poem that how an old lady refuses to feed a great saintly person, Saint Peter, and then Saint Peter curses her, as we all have seen in Indian mythology and maybe other mythologies also, that curse is a common thing. They used to curse someone and then that person or is changed into maybe human in different forms. So here also you will see that how a lady, a greedy old lady, was changed into a woodpecker. It is very interestingly but very simply, it has been presented in a very simple manner. So let us discuss the stanza. Now one by one I will be explaining you stanzas. So stanza 1. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. Now this story is about North Pole, somewhere Northland. And the duration of the day is very less because its position is such that the sun rays reach for a very less time. Most of the time this area is experiencing winter season, and that is why the duration of night is very long and the day's time are very less. They cannot sleep them through. They is being referred for the people who lives in this region, inhabitants. The poetess also say that the duration of night time is so long that people cannot sleep them through, means they cannot keep on sleeping for hours and hours. They have to get up and still there is night. So he is simply emphasizing on the fact that the duration of night is very long. Next stanza. Where the harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bear cubs in their funny furry clothes. Now first of all let me explain you what are sledges. Sledges is a kind of vehicle which is being carried on ice, often pulled by animals, reindeers specifically. So, and swiftly it keeps on moving. Now the poet wants to say that the Northland region experiences severe cold climate, and that is why it's snow all over. It is very difficult for them to move from one place to another. It is difficult to commute. So they use a special kind of vehicle, sledges, and reindeer, which is a common animal which is found in polar region. that helps to move these sledges. Now people tie the reindeers to sledges and reindeers pull them up. He also adds that the children look like young ones, children of bear, because they are wearing funny looking clothes made of fur, furry skin of bear. So children are looking so funny, so sweet, and they are looking like bear cubs. Next stanza. They tell them a curious story. I don't believe it is true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. Now, whom this they is referring? They refers to the parents, grandparents, elders, whoever is telling story, this curious, this interesting story to the children, and them refers to the children or the next generation. So very simply, the senior, maybe parents, elders, they used to narrate this story to the younger generation. I don't believe it's true. Poetess is saying, yeah, maybe I'm not believing the authenticity of this story, but still I would like to tell this story. Why? Because you may learn a lesson. The poetess is saying that maybe she doesn't think that the story is true, but she would like to tell this story to her reader so that they could learn an important lesson from this story. As I told you, it is carrying a strong message. Now what happens? The story begins like this in a very methodical manner. Stanza 4 is referring to that. Once, when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below, below here means on earth, and walked about it preaching, just as he did, you know. Now, who is Saint Peter? Saint Peter, he was a disciple, or maybe you can say follower of Jesus Christ, a messenger of mercy, a preacher. Preacher means preaching, you know, to give a religious talk, or maybe you can say moral lessons, the one who teaches moral lessons. So once upon a time, this story is about Saint Peter, and at that time Saint Peter used to live in the world and went around giving religious lectures to the people, like generally you would have seen saints used to do. And then one day, you know what happened? He came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Hearth means a fireplace, oven, where generally people used to do cooking also, or maybe fireplace it is commonly known. Now Saint Peter was moving around the world, giving religious lectures to the people, simply wanted to preach the world with good lessons, nice things. He reached the door of a cottage. Perhaps he was hungry, perhaps he was tired. He needed some food. Obviously, food is important for the survival. So, he reached to a door of a cottage where he saw that a small woman was making cakes, where she was baking the cakes in the fireplace. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. Faint here, starving. He was actually very, very weak also and very hungry also. So as Saint Peter, he had not eaten anything the entire day. He was very hungry and feeling very weak. He was about to faint, about to be unconscious. So he decided maybe that lady will give him something to eat. And why not? If someone is coming to your place asking for food, we all give anything, whatever we have. We used to share things with them. It is always a very nice thing, a charity. So he also went to this woman who was baking cakes, and he asked for one cake out of so many cakes she had baked. Now the lady, you will see from this stanza onwards that how the lady is being so selfish. She is not only miser, narrow-minded, but very selfish also. No love, nothing she had, no respect she had for this man. What did she do? So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Now, women was selfish, very greedy also, miser also, narrow-minded also. She did not give cake from her store. She said, no, no, whatever I have, I will not give it. Rather, what did she do? She started making a very small cake for Saint Peter because she did not want to share the cakes which she had already kept in her room. But as she prepared that cake and was about to give it to him, she looked at it and she found it too big to be given to someone. She thought, no, it's so big, I cannot give it away. So what did she do? Therefore, she needed another, making the dough, gundna, and still a smaller one. But it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. So the little miser, greedy women thought that the cake was too big to be given away. I will make another, the smaller one. But as the another cake was ready, she looked at it and she found it as big as the previous one. And so she decided, no, she will not give this cake to the Saint Peter. She did not stop at that minute. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. Wafer, wafers you might be eating. But she couldn't part with that. So third time, she had a lot of cake in her kitchen, but she did not give it to him. She prepared 2 cakes and she found it too big to be given to that man. So third time, she took a very small amount of dough and rolled it. And rolled it flat. Why poet is using repetition? I have told you, repetition, whenever it is used, that means the poet wants to lay emphasis on that fact. Yes, she was rolling the dough with the roller pin. She was making it very flat, as thin like a wafer, and baked it. But even though she did that, she was so greedy, so narrow-minded, so self-centered that she couldn't give that even the thin piece of bread to that saint. Just imagine, saint who was standing there waiting something he will get to eat. A godly person. He did not get anything. And what did she say? For she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. The woman has some reason. She had some reason. And what did she say? That when I prepared this cake for myself, they are not so large. But when I am preparing it for you, why they look so large? She felt that they were too big to be given away. And that is why that third cake also, although it was very small, thin cake, but she did not give that cake to Saint Peter and kept it on the shelf. Now just imagine, Saint Peter was getting angry and angry. He has been waiting. Obviously, anyone will get angry in these circumstances. So, then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Provoke, to instigate someone, to make someone angry. So, Saint Peter, who has been waiting patiently that he will get something to eat, that starving Saint Peter, he grew angry now. He became angry. Because he was actually hungry, feeling very weak. He thought, what a selfish woman she is. She is not even ready to give him even a small piece of cake. And this behavior of that greedy and miser woman angered him. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm." Dwell means to live. Now Saint Peter was so angry that he said that God made you human. He gave you all the privileges. You have all the materialistic pleasure. But what you are doing? That this is the message. This is the message that the poetess or this ballad or this folk tale wants to convey to us. That since God made us a human being, He gave us everything, all materialistic happiness, all, nice things for us. And what we are doing, we are not reciprocating it. We are not thanking God. So he says, "You are far too selfish." He cursed the women and said, "You are very selfish. You did not deserve to live like a human being." He also added that God had given you everything: food, shelter, warmth. It's a cold country, so fire to keep you warm. And what you are doing? You have become so selfish that you are misusing these blessings, resources, and you did not want to share anything. Oh God. So he cursed her finally. And he said, "Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get you scanty food by boring and boring and boring." Again, emphatic. "All day in the hard, dry woods." So he cursed her. Saint Peter cursed the women that hence she would become a bird because she did not deserve the human being form. Now you will become a bird, and just like birds build their houses by boring into the wood, digging, boring here means making a hole in something, and you will be able to collect very little food by working hard the entire day. You will get very little, scanty, very little. So now you have to remain like a bird forever. You will keep on moving in the woods, and you will make your house by digging, by boring, and all day, and you will get very little food. And as he said so, there was a magic and miracle happened. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. Before she could have asked sorry, sorry, or maybe she would have apologized or asked for forgiveness. What happened? As soon as the Saint Peter cursed the women, she did not get a chance to speak for herself. That very moment only, she flew up to the roof through the chimney and flew out in the form of a bird. Saint Peter's curse had converted the women into a bird. And she had a scarlet cap on her head, brilliant red color cap. And that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. When she was cursed, what happened? Then in that moment she entered into a chimney. And she was also wearing a red colored cap at that time. But the cap was there on the bird's head. But rest of her clothes had burned and turned black in color just like coal. So if you have seen a woodpecker, you will see that his entire body is black, but it seems as if the woodpecker is wearing a red colored cap. Now, it happened, and every country schoolboy, country here means countryside, rural areas, has seen her in the wood where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. Now the poet says, people who live in the countryside, even the small children, if they go to school or somewhere, while moving, they have seen this kind of birds in the woods. They have seen that how these birds are digging for food, boring for their shelter. And whenever you see this kind of bird, generally elders are telling this story to the children. Why? Because this story is carrying a strong message that you should not be greedy. She was greedy lady, and that is why she was cursed by Saint Peter, a messenger of mercy, a follower of Jesus Christ, and he turned her into a bird. So we all get a teaching that we should not be greedy, we should help people, whoever is there in need. Okay? Now let us discuss the literary devices in the poem. The rhyme scheme is very clear. A, B, C, B. You will see a lot of alliteration. Alliteration, you know, repetition of sound in two or more close words. Stanza 1, we have that, they, them, through. Then stanza 2, they, the, look, like, funny, furry. Stanza 3, we have they, them, yet, you, learn, lesson, tell, tale. Stanza 5, women, was, then, the, hearth. Faint, stanza 6, we have faint, fasting. 8, still smaller. 9, we have took, tiny. 10, seem small. 13, build birds. Boring, boring, that is repetition. Repetition, we have lot of rolled, boring, away. Then simile we have. Stanza 2, the children look like bear's cubs. Children are being compared to bear's cub. Stanza 9, baked it thin as a wafer. Cake is compared to a wafer. Stanza 15, clothes were burned black as a coal. The color of the burnt clothes is compared to the coal. So in this manner, we learnt a great lesson from this poem, that greed is not good for us. So that's all for the day. Thank you.